welcome everyone to Friends Seminary as we launch our Visiting Scholars and Artists program, and as we welcome architect Charles Renfro as the program's first appointment. The Scholars and Artists program is made possible by an anonymous donor whose intent is to enhance the classroom experience of Friends students. This gift, endowed through a generous pledge to the school's ongoing capital campaign, Lift Every Voice, will provide annual income in perpetuity to fund a visiting scholar, author, or artist. The holder of this appointment will be a renowned and respected practitioner in his or her field and will have demonstrated the desire to work with students of all ages. Why, some of you may be wondering, have we, a kindergarten through grade 12 school, selected architecture of all subjects as the focus for this year's residency? The answer is simple and complex at the same time. Much like our school, a Quaker institution that strives to embrace the notion of simplicity in one of the world's most complex cities. For well over a century, since the 1891-92 school year, Friends has offered art as part of the formal academic curriculum. Vestiges of this early program, including woodworking and fiber arts, remain in place to this day. And for the last 15 years or so, Friends Seminary has offered an upper-level elective in architecture. This year, 9 lucky students are enrolled in this class and will have the incredible opportunity to learn from Charles Renfro and his colleagues. As students living and learning in one of the greatest and most architecturally alive cities in the world, it is the school's belief that our students should engage with their built environment in significant ways. And in this time of increasing awareness of the importance of green architecture, we believe the opportunity for Charles to help us inspire students and to activate a lifelong interest in architecture is significant and in keeping with our mission to help our students bring about the world that ought to be. So, that is why architecture. Now, why Charles? Because he is a masterful architect. Because he has major projects in neighborhoods where our students live. Because he is a proven and gifted teacher. Because he is willing to take a risk with high school students. Because he is adventurous. Because he has an electric energy. And, frankly, because I am obsessed with the High Line, one of the design world's greatest gifts to our city. We are honored to welcome Charles as our very first visiting scholar artist, and we look forward not only to tonight, but to your work with our students throughout the academic year. Join me in welcoming Charles Renfro. Thanks, folks. Wow, this is a really great turnout. It's wonderful to be here, both in this hall and also at Friends Seminary. This is a huge honor for me. It turns out I know a ton of you, and I don't know how that happened, but apparently a lot of my colleagues and friends and fellow architects have kids in the school here, which is wonderful to know. It means that there is indeed a lot of interest in architecture at the school. Okay, with that said, I'm going to kind of implore you to put on your architect hat, because I have 250 slides here. Now, I was just told by someone, okay, I saw that, so I'm going to do this really fast. In fact, I'm going to time myself. I'm going to be exactly an hour. Now, if you have problems with my speed, just do whatever, do signal or something. I will go quite quickly. I wanted to say that first that we also started as architects rather than artists. This is the motley crew. This is the 3 partners, Liz, Diller, Ricardo, Scofidio, and myself. And you can see we're different generations. Liz and Rick founded the company about 40 years ago, and the company was founded at a time when not much building was going on in the city, but a lot of thinking was going on, and they were some of the prime thinkers in the city of New York and in the field of architecture. While they weren't building buildings, they were thinking about architecture, and they were also thinking about other things,
such as art. Now, okay, so you're wondering why I'm showing pictures of glasses. This is a project called Vice Virtue, a series of glasses that were made for an art installation, and it sort of illustrates both a scale that we like to work at, which is from the very small, but also the kind of ideas that we like to explore. We're very much interested in prodding at the social agenda or the social subconscious of society, and we try to bring that to everything we do. We're really interested in investigating why things are the way they are, and we sometimes rub your nose in it, and sometimes we just make fun of it. We have worked at every scale. This is a project that we did with Rem Koolhaas. You may have heard of him from OMA. BAM Master Plan, that is currently underway out in Brooklyn. We've also worked in theater. This is a project called Jet Lag that was produced in 2000. This won an Off-Broadway award, an Obie, which is kind of exciting since we wrote and directed and built the sets. And this has to do with the notion of being lost in our modern world. So it's two true stories that were put on stage, one about Donald Crowhurst, who you may have heard of. I think there was a movie that came out last year about that, but he feigned his sailing records as he was going around the world and actually was lost at sea, though the BBC thought that he had won this major race. And another story about a woman who died after having flown 254 round trips to from Amsterdam to New York consecutively to evade the law, and her stepson. So this is an installation that we did at the Cartier Foundation in Paris. So we also work in major installation. This is a show that we did with Rolf Feldbaum, who is the founder of Vitra, the furniture company, and he has a collection of toy robots. So what we made is a kind of a dystopic environment that actually was actually kind of fun, and we surveilled all of the toy robots on their way to and from their desks, like this, and we displayed those in monitors around. We've also done public permanent installation. This is in San Francisco, the Moscone Center. I don't have the video of this, but you can go on our website and see it. But basically, the screen here acts as a sort of scanner. We call this facsimile, and it's 80 feet long, the screen, and it moves around the building. We didn't do the building, but we did the screen. And what it does is it takes pictures of the activities that are going on inside the convention center lobby and broadcasts them to the world. So you're magnified there, and when there's no event happening in the convention center, we developed a little fiction film for it. So you can see one of the fiction films is people in a hotel room, various people in hotel rooms, going exactly the speed of the screen are the hotel rooms passing by. Again, a fun video that if you have any interest, please stop by the website. Before I get too far, I wanted to thank Jesse Pasco, who's teaching the architecture program with me this year. I'm going to try to get through the 250 slides we've already gone through, maybe 10, 12, and then I'm going to try to get through the slides and explain a little bit more about what we're planning for the year. So we have also worked. Okay. Oh, okay, fine. Can everybody hear me? I'm sort of just yelling. I prefer just to speak naturally. Okay, so yes, this is a piece which we did for Swarovski crystals. It's now on the market as of 2 weeks ago, and it's a light fixture. It's a light fixture, and what it is you can purchase the crystals as if they were fish. Let's say it's a fishing net. You can buy them by the pound. I think that's 60 pounds, and it comes in various configurations, including a single bag, if you will. So this is going to be a little bit of a kind of, this is what we've done in the past 10 years lecture, and again, I'm going to try to make it quick, but we have worked, since we've been doing architecture, and that's been about, building buildings, I should say, that's been about the past 10 years, corresponds to about the time that I've been with Diller Scofidio, and I became a partner and named partner in 2004. Partly because of this building, we were awarded the ICA in Boston, Institute of Contemporary Art, through an international competition. They hadn't built a new museum in Boston in 100 years. It's a fairly conservative town when it comes to art, but the ICA has always been a very progressive institution, and they wanted to give an architect that had never built a building the chance to build a building. And what a lucky break this was. The director there, Joel Medvedow, is incredible. She saw herself like us, a person who had made good on a promise somehow, that she wanted to change the world, and she's done it. So this is about a 65,000 square foot building. It was completed in 2006. Oh, I'm still going through the, oh dear, this is going to be long. That's the High Line that we've done. I'm going to get back to that. Right, okay, and then Blur Building, okay, this is, the general talk is about landscape and the importance of landscape to us, and also green architecture, and also water. In 2000, we won a competition to build an art pavilion in Yverdon-les-Bains, that is in Switzerland, as part of the Swiss Expo 2002. They wanted us to build a typical pavilion in the water, or pavilion that would highlight technology. That's pretty standard for World's Fairs. And we said, well, no, we actually want to make a sort of anti-technology pavilion. We want to make a pavilion that foregrounds how much we're dependent on vision as our primary tool and guide in the world. And so what we decided to do was make a pavilion out of the water of the lake. So it's pumped, this is a cloud, it's pumped through 35,000 high pressure mist nozzles. And the effect was, I mean, aside from being a little kind of out of control, there were actually, when this opened, it was only open for 6 months during the expo. There were fog police, and when that tail, this is about 300 yards or meters offshore, when that tail hit the shore, the fog police would come to us and tell us to turn it off. So indeed, it was a little crazy. We worked with a great structural engineer in northern Italy, whose specialty is tensegrity structure. So this is a tensegrity structure. It is held with compression columns, so the verticals are compression, and then there are cables that hold it up. It's sitting on 4 columns. This is the size of a football field, 100 yards across, and about 50 yards deep, and another 60 feet high. And when it was turned on, it sort of resembled a cloud. That's the Blur Building at night. You could get a raincoat in case you didn't want to get wet, but a lot of people chose just to simply get wet. And this was sort of the desired effect, a complete absence of perspective, an absence of vision, and kind of a poignant display of our dependence on vision to assess the world. Vision has been something that's interested us quite a while, and you'll see themes of vision recurring in the work. This was quite popular. It made it onto sugar packs, umbrellas, and even chocolate, which in Switzerland is pretty phenomenal. Wasn't the best chocolate in Switzerland. Back to the Institute of Contemporary Art. When we were awarded this project, we wondered what is the role of architecture for a museum in contemporary society. And you probably know these buildings. That's Bilbao right there, and then the other is the Goetz collection by Herzog de Meuron, each representing sort of 2 ends of the spectrum, from a polite demure box for displaying art to a very aggressive sculptural building that sort of challenges the art itself. What we decided to do was do something in between. The site we were given is right here on, this is Boston Harbor, this is downtown Boston. This is an old industrial site. Railroad tracks used to go in here. So it was part of a process of kind of cleaning up the waterway in Boston. And we were challenged by the site, because sites with a view are usually the site you really want. But in fact, we thought, well, the view is actually a distraction from the art. And so what can we do to the view to turn it into to art itself? And so we thought, well, maybe we can blur the view, or pixelate the view, blur the view, frame and edit the view, or we could use the water in a particular way. And one of our initial thoughts was to make part of the building dislodge, go into a barge, and float around Boston. And that would have been fun, but that was what we say in architecture, VE'd, value engineered out of the project. So what's wonderful about the site also, aside from the water, is the boardwalk, which was mandated by the city of Boston. It's to surround all of Boston's waterways, and our site has two edges made up of the boardwalk. So we thought, well, that's a wonderfully democratic surface. Wouldn't it be fun to talk about the democratic building by using that surface to make the building? So what we did is we pulled the wood up into the building, and made all of the primary program spaces with the wood. So you'll see in a second what happens. There's a grandstand that's formed out of this, and then it turns into a theater, and then it makes sort of a little platform for the art hall above. And we also wanted to bring the walkway right through the building, so joggers and rollerbladers, if they could rollerblade on the boardwalk without getting their wheels caught, could walk right, or could go right in through the building and see what was going on. So we considered it a very public building. And this is not really a program aspiration that had been brought to us. It's something that we brought to the project. We felt very convinced and compelled that every institution needs to give back to the city in a way that is unexpected and exciting. The art gallery sits on top. It's skylit, toplit, and that's what it looks like from the harbor. We made a special new room for Boston, an outdoor room that has become one of the primary party spots in Boston. If you're from there, you've probably already been to a party here. The ICA has become probably the best party promoter in the city, as well as being one of the best art promoters in the city. And we did this with a deal. We made this with a deal with Boston. They had insisted that all buildings that are built on the water have to be held back 25 feet, that you need to be able to see the sky. And we said, well, okay, that's the way most people would like to do it, and we understand why you'd want to see the sky, but we thought we would like to do something different and really make a room, something that feels very enclosed. On top of that, we needed that much space to make all of the gallery space that the museum needed. And the city said, fantastic, you give us a plaza out here and we'll give you the 25-foot extension. And that's what we got out of that. It's a very simple building. You can see the theater here. You can see the art floor here. Here's the lobby. The theater itself has two sides of glass, so the view here can be completely open. It can also be closed down and blacked out. They can present any number of performance types here. The stairwell, this is a fire stair that we made simply out of folding sheets of steel plate. And then that's a simple fluorescent fixture, so sort of using common materials to achieve uncommon effects. The elevator that we're in is the size of a room. This is also the freight elevator, 20 feet wide, 10 feet deep. The Children's, this is a funny story, the Children's Museum is about 3 blocks away from here, and I have heard from people with kids in Boston that the kids want to come here more than they want to go to the Children's Museum. You can see they're pretty excited, that one in particular. So we're very pleased with this, and the elevator operates as a sort of scanner across the water. You can see the harbor through several layers of glass here. In fact, the backstage of the theater is right here, so you can see performers walking back and forth from the elevator. And then this is the gallery floor up here. And the gallery is very, very simple and very respectful of the art. This is the Anish Kapoor show that was there last year, quite beautiful. Top-lit gallery, and then what we call the pornographic gallery. This is where the view is given to you in all of its full glory. The thing that we sort of wanted to hold back and deliver very judiciously, but you only get it in this little narrow gallery that connects up two of the main galleries on either side. And then the final little moment of the museum that we're very proud of is a place called the Mediatek. This is where the ICA shows their media collection. And what we wanted to do with this was make a room that abstracted the site. And so the room is tipped down to the point where the horizon is completely missing. It's somewhere up here. So all you see is the water when you're there. Let me see how the time is. Okay, we love doing museums, and we've done quite a few competitions, and we've lost quite a few competitions. This is sort of par for the course for architects. 1 in 10 is what it takes. One win for 9 losses. This is a little museum that we're very proud of, competition that we're very proud of, that we did for an industrialist in Neuhaus, Austria. That is his little town. Very, very cute. That is his art. Very, very uncute. The Austrians were known as the inventors of sort of body art, and we sought to sort of magnify the kind of distinction between the beautiful surroundings and the graphic nature of much of the art inside. So what we did is we, rather than have the circulation system where you go from gallery to gallery be on the inside, we had it on the outside, where you could see the view every time you leave a gallery. And so the pattern is much like that. You're circulating into galleries and then returning to the view every time you leave a gallery. On top of that, because if that wasn't enough, we wanted to tip the gallery into the ground, such that this is the entire sequence of views from that circulation hall around the entire gallery. And there's a moment where you dip down into the earth and you see the earth sectioned around you. And the gallery that has the most graphic body art is in fact down at this lowest point. The action is most. So you get it. I mean, okay, hit you over the head. The sectioning of the animal equals the sectioning of the earth. And the funniest part of this is that is the industrialist's house. I guess some people would call it a castle. So we used the building to frame both the hamlet and the castle of the museum owners. The residence of the museum owner there. So quickly, I'm not going to tell you what all this is. It's sort of self-explanatory, very simple plan. There's this sectioned view. It's in a cornfield, and we just left the field to be mowed. Because it's tipped into the ground, it creates many strange offsets, vertically, sectional offsets. While even though it's a flat building, it has quite a few moments of overlook and underlook, as the case is. Here, this is the Drow River, so we wanted to make a gallery where you saw under another part of the museum down to the river. Here's putting the visitors on display. Here's putting nature on display. This is a hole that goes from the roof down to underneath, so it can rain through the building. This is something we've wanted to do in a lot of projects. You'll see it one of these days. And then the top of the building is actually occupiable and is covered by a field, and it's also covered by a field of skylights. And the skylights are on on sensors, so they turn to let the sun in. So these things can lock down and shut out the sun down below, and that's sort of what it looks like within the field. Very demure in a way, and that is the total picture looking back to the owner's house. Okay, now I'm showing you this because it's a K through 12 school, and I thought you might need to see a little bit of thought about the K through 12 school. Okay, I've been talking for 20 minutes. Good. Okay, so now I know that you guys are terribly progressive here, and I've been very, very impressed with how progressive you are. However, when you talk to people in Denmark, they really blow you away with their kind of Earth Mother tendencies. So we were invited to do this competition, and it's in a new part of Copenhagen that's being developed on the water. And among the things that the leaders of the school told us that we needed to do was to provide all of these, accommodate all of these activities in our school. So, oops, nope. So, you know, there should be an aquarium, you should be able to scuba dive, you should be able to whitewater raft in the school. This is literally from the program statement. Fishing, of course, canoeing, the water should be theatricized. How about a little dry dock for our kids to learn boating? Fish farm would be kind of great, and even perhaps a surf tank. There were more having to do with the water. We thought this is really fantastic. So our first impulse in thinking about this school was to make an amphibious building, a building that was half in the water and half out of the water. And hopefully it wouldn't be as scary as that. And this is the result. This is about 4 years ago. The site is, this is all this developing industrial area. This is the actual harbor, and this is an artificial harbor that we made in order to sort of submerge the building. The way the program works is the building has two halves, an academic half here that's a series of trays that overlook one another, and then it has a series of home rooms. And you start as a toddler in daycare, and you move your way on up to what they call phasing out, which is who I'm going to be teaching the seniors and juniors next year. And when you get to the top of the spiral, who knows how you end? But there's water, so you can dive off at the very end. In the middle were all the common social spaces, and they were to be built underwater, sort of using the water as an aesthetic device. So here's the entrance from the main entrance from the street. And one of the nice moments of synchronicity was at high tide, the real harbor would be just about the height of the swimming pool that would exist here at the back of the building. And of course, because the building is gently sloped, the slope is entirely terraced and plantable, so people can. Oh, they also said they want the kids to be able to chop down trees with axes and carve stools out of them, so that they could carry them from place to place. Now, so you guys should think about your curriculum based on this, and now we have some experience with this too. This is in the little hump zone. So here's the swimming pool above you, and then in the swimming pool, located in the swimming pool, is this dive tank. So swimming right past your friends eating lunch. Here is the gymnasium. I always have to say, I just don't know why he's so sad, because look at the environment here. It's so cool. The other thing that we did is use the harbor to actually engage itself in the academics. So we made a tidal beam, water beam. So this is the actual harbor out here, and water flows through the beam to the basin here. So water will disappear in here depending on the tide. And I'm not sure that those kind of fish would be there, but you could at least just kind of do a chemistry experiment on the water to see how dirty it is or whatever. This is one of the rooms of the homeroom spiral, looking down. And then here is a piece of the building that breaks away as a classroom. This is another idea that we're very interested in, and we'll get it in one of our projects soon enough. I'm going to go through this. I think a lot of you have probably seen our work already at Lincoln Center, but we were astonished, actually, to be selected to be the architects for the renovation of Lincoln Center. And this happened through a competition. We were up against Norman Foster and Richard Meyer, so we had good competitors. And I think that the way that we won the competition is that we came in and said, look at Lincoln Center, it's really fantastic, and should we just make it better than it is? Shouldn't we make Lincoln Center more Lincoln Center than Lincoln Center? Other architects had come in and tried to remake it in its entirety. Frank Gehry came and proposed a sort of metal shaving canopy that went from one end to the other, so a brand new look for it. And we decided that we would be much more modest in a way. That was important because we were interviewed just after 9/11, and actually Gary's presentation was 9/12/2001, and that was the last that happened. Anybody had heard of that scheme? And then we came in maybe 6 months later when they retooled the effort. We have done quite a bit there and continue to do quite a bit. All of these dots represent places that we've touched. Starting with the very front, we've remade the Columbus Avenue entrance and the stairs here. We've remade Josie Robertson Plaza. That just opened about a month ago, not even 2 weeks ago. And I'll show you little bits and pieces of each of these. We've remade the North Plaza. And added a new restaurant lawn here, and we remade the bosque of trees. So a famous landscape architect worked on this, Dan Kiley, and we had the utmost respect for this design, but it was in fact falling apart. It had fallen apart, and it was also not quite executed up to his original designs. So I'm saying that in a way to give myself space to take another professional's work out. I mean, it was actually very challenging to work under the sort of watchful eyes of the preservationists here. It was rather challenging, but we've managed to succeed. This Dan Kiley landscape will be restored to its kind of current glory, or better than its current glory. And then other parts of contribution include a renovation of the street. We took a big old bridge that used to be here, 65th Street overpass. We've renovated much of the Juilliard School on the inside. We added a large portion of the school here, and we renovated Alice Tully Hall here. And we're continuing to do work on the inside. We're contributing a piece to the new Koch Theater that used to be the State Theater. So we were astounded that we were granted this amazing commission. And part of it was that we had done a lot of work in the public realm with art, and a wonderful benefactor, Rebecca Robertson, who now runs the Park Avenue Armory, had faith in us that we would be able to handle this crazy set of people. There are 13 constituents, all of these different houses, and somehow we've managed to make it happen. So here on Columbus, we've remade the steps. You probably walked up them. They're missing one critical element. There is LED signage which will be embedded in each riser, and these will be informational and will provide ambient light. We've designed new canopies, glass canopies. They're supported on a single column. They're very dramatic. They go all the way from each of these buildings to Columbus. And those are partly in. They'll open very shortly. That's the new fountain. You may think, well, that looks pretty much the same. Well, it's very different. The ring around that you see that floats replaces what was a very heavy bench that went all the way to the ground. So we've lowered the pool part of the fountain and raised this up, all in an effort to make things lighter, to make things more transparent. That was one of our big goals at Lincoln Center, and to make them more playful. So there is a program in the fountain that makes it do all kinds of crazy dances. It will never be Las Vegas, so don't worry, it's not the Bellagio. There's a new reflecting pool here with a drip edge, and this is a new restaurant here that will be opening in a year, and we have a new chef that I can't name, and it's very exciting, it's also a lawn on the top of this, and that lawn will serve as sort of the campus green for the Juilliard School. This is a hyperbolic paraboloid, so it's simply a form that's been twisted like this, and it looks very complex, but in fact it's quite simple. This is from the green of the lawn. That's the new bosque over there. The bosque is complete. This is it. Again, the detailing, all intended to lighten things up, to make them float. It's sort of a magic carpet with trees. This is inside the restaurant. That was months ago. It's much further than this now. We've also done interior work at the Lincoln Center. This is the American School of American Ballet, where we were asked to magically make new studio space where they had absolutely no room to expand. And so what we did is we prodded their ceilings and discovered they had 8 feet of plenum space. So plenum space is a space beneath the slab and or between the slab and the drop ceiling. We were able to put 2 brand new studios above their existing studios, float them on 3 steel beams that were brought in on big cranes. The windows were taken out and the beams were put in, and so it's sort of like nesting dolls. These rooms are embedded with. This room is embedded within the existing studio. They're soundproof. It's amazing, and they're vibration proof. So 2 completely different classes can be going on, one above the other. This also shares the light down here by keeping this thing off of the wall. Not only is it an interesting object nested, it also allows light to flow down here and also flow up here. You can see the double glazing here. That was for acoustics. They can have a person pounding on a piano up here and one down here, and you can't hear between the 2. So this is the lobby, a little more, visual trickery, I guess. The backwards lettering and that you see only when you look in the mirror. You'll see that again coming up. Yes, we're done with that one for a while. The Juilliard School is Pietro Beluschi's probably best known building in America. I'm not even sure how many he did, but it's definitely one of the best examples of brutalism in America, and one of the few in New York City. So we were excited to be able to work on the building and to add on to it, but we also were a little scared of it, because we knew that it exerted so much psychological and formal weight that we weren't quite sure what to do. So what we thought to do again was to make it lighter, but not impact the overall expression of the building. So all we did is we took the bottom away, which had been a big heavy stone base. We replaced it with glass. We didn't do anything from here to the top. The additional part is right here, and then Alice Tully got a new lobby in the process. This is a picture when it had almost finished construction. You can see the new part of the building from here over. I'll talk a little bit about more about that in a second. And then gave the building a whole new image on Broadway. For the first time, Lincoln Center would have a diagonal, and that was really exciting. What we did is we just chopped the facade at the angle of Broadway and let that facade act as almost a guillotine that sliced open the program of Juilliard. Juilliard had never exposed its program to the outside world. You could not see in, and the kids could barely see out. The studios were double height. The windows were up at the 2nd floor. You could never see out. So we placed a lot of program up at the face, and we made new social spaces at the face for the very first time. They can see. This is the completed building with all of the lights on. You can see, again, very little structure. We wanted to make the entire new piece feel like it's floating even more than the old piece. So there's one expressive column on the corner here. This is a new dance studio. It's reminiscent of our Mediatek at the ICA. That was intentional, lest you get any ideas. This is the front door. We took the plaza level, exposed it as a thin ribbon as opposed to a heavy, massive building like this is here. And we made it have some expression, some playful expression. So this eyebrow over the door indicates the front door. And then we took that same ribbon, it's hard to see in this image, and bent it up at an angle. And that's what allowed us to make this very generous triple height space for the Alice Tully Hall entrance. So they're all working together, hand in hand, to make new spatial features. This is the stair of Juilliard. We wanted to make a social space, a space where kids could wait. So it's partly stair and it's partly living room. They have what they call a concierge now that directs you to the different places in the school. It's really like a monastery up there. There are so many rooms. I had no idea until I went in there how complex this building was. Here's the stair again. Here are some of my staff members pretending to be Juilliard students. This is a stair that's on Broadway, behind the glass wall, the guillotine wall. This stair was made by M. Zahner, a very wonderful steel company in Kansas City, and it was welded as one piece of steel. This is about 80 feet long, from here to here. Was brought in before any of the glazing came in, just after the steel had been erected, and this was welded up just like that, like a little thin piece of paper. And in fact, that is how it started in our studio as a model, a little piece of cardboard that we liked so much we just grew the scale and made it out of steel. There it is in the context of the new Wilson Theater. This is a black box theater, a brand new facility at the Juilliard School. They hadn't had a black box theater before. And then underneath that slope that forms the lobby of Alice Tully, or on top of that slope, are a series of bleachers. So this sort of becomes a public space for the students. This is the new dance studio. For the very first time, people from Broadway can see into the building, and people here can see out. This has become the most popular rehearsal studio in the building, and not just for dance, for everyone. In fact, they've also started having dinners there. This is the very corner. There's a jazz program at Juilliard that when Marcellus founded, grown like crazy. This is their new space, right on the front face of Juilliard. You can see the double curtain wall here. Again, that's for acoustics. There's a material here that's sort of a miracle material. If any of you know anything about acoustics, you know that glass is reflective, and so when you play into the glass, you get slapback, they call it. A material has been invented that's completely transparent, and it's perforated, and it goes in front of this glass, and it traps the sound, it prevents slapback. So we're able to make a perfectly transparent room, despite the fact that you've got horn players blowing right into this glass. And we're very excited about that. They like the room, we think. There is a rehearsal going on. And here's a sort of view of all the different activity you see in the building. We try to open up every space we could. There's the dance rehearsal. Here are those crazy stairs. Here's the 80-foot long one. Different programs on the face. Office program, the jazz rehearsal is off the screen over here. The new Alice Tully lobby here. Another little hangout balcony here. That is the donor lobby for Alice Tully. I'm going to go into that in a second. This is a new orchestra rehearsal room, and this is the inside of the Black Box Theater at Juilliard. Juilliard was also gifted by Bruce Kovner, the president of Juilliard, his collection of rare manuscripts, and we constructed this little jewel box room that you can go take the manuscripts out and look at them. We designed these lights, so everything in here is completely custom. And then lastly, not lastly for the lecture, but lastly for Lincoln Center, I'm going to spend another 15 minutes. Is everybody doing okay? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. And then lastly, this is the overall building again, but Alice Tully Hall, which benefited from Juilliard's expansion by being able to expand its lobby and its presence in New York underneath. And there, again, we were really interested in blurring the line between public and private, and sort of turning the notion of going to the theater on its head. This grandstand, which we call the Info Peel, has ended up becoming very popular day and night, but we wanted we wanted to theatricize going to the theater, and it's sort of worked, we think. This is a new cafe that is also open throughout the day, and in the evening you can go here whether you have a ticket to the performance or not, even when the performance is going. A very sheer glass wall hanging on one-way cable. More bleachers here. It's become very popular, this spot here. And from the Info Peel you can see up into the new dance theater there. The hall was existing, and we couldn't change the bones of the hall, but we could clad the hall. And so we found this wood, Mura Paranga. It's hardwood, sustainably harvested hardwood from South America, and we treated it very simply as tongue and groove wood, very much like a floor. and we clad it in all of its contortions, some of which we added. And then we made a bar, which is almost like a runway, fashion runway, that emerges directly from the walking surface. This is street level here. The lobby had been and remains below street level. We couldn't do anything about that, but we could bring the street all the way in to the cafe. So they have not had a fashion show here, but we think that because Fashion Week is moving there next year, we might suggest that they do that. Anyway, this is a very popular cafe. The interior of the hall, we try to increase its intimacy by cladding it in the same material. It's wood. It was made with one log. It's called oh geez, this is the first thing I've forgotten tonight. Well, anyway, it's made with a tree, one tree, that's been shaved, micro thin veneer, and that's the finished hall. There's backlighting behind these panels, so in fact they glow. You can see a little bit of a hint of that here and up here, and it also goes around the stage. So when the lights dim, sorry, I don't have a good picture of this. A band of warm light envelops both the audience and the performers in one kind of synchronous space. We did some really nice details that you rarely see in auditoria. For instance, this undercut stage, which is also made of the wood compound curves, because the wood was so thin, we could actually bend it around those compound curves, and this is the interior of the hall. If you've been here for the film festival, you know that blackout acoustic shades come all the way down this wall, all the way here, here, and here. The room completely transforms. It's something that it never did before, so we've really increased its performance specs. And these panels over here on the side pivot around and become acoustic panels. Okay, let's see. Well, we've done a little thing for Governor's Island. Let's see. What am I missing here? I want to get to talk about the project a little bit that we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to quickly go through these, or just maybe two more projects here. Governor's Island we won as a competition with West 8, and our premise was Governor's Island is this amazing place, but it's actually an artificial place. It was made mostly by the refuse from the making of the subways. So while a good portion is historic and a real island, most of it is not. And so our idea was to make an artificial nature that is somehow the equivalent of Manhattan's artificial artifice, if that makes any sense. And so these are just some early sketches we did with West 8. This will be developed over the next few years. We've just finished the master plan. There's essentially a mountain range in the middle, and the mountain range transforms to become something else, which I'll talk about in a second, on the edge. This is our primary contribution to the competition entry. It's not going to be quite like that any longer, but the mountain range does still exist. The Army Corps of Engineers is very controlling of the waterways in New York. Well, I'll say that. We learned that. So one of the wonderful things that West 8 did is they've invented a wood bicycle, and it will be free of charge on the island, and it will be hard to take to the city because everyone will know you've stolen it from Governor's Island. So there's a little bit of social regulation there. And here is the mountain range that you can ride your free bike between. The mountain range will be made with the detritus from the demolition. So there's most of the old buildings that were used to house the Army and the Coast Guard have been taken down, and the material has been saved, and it will be piled up and battened on the sides to create these. Now, you probably know that oysters used to grow in the Hudson. They were so plentiful that they served them at every corner bar, free of charge, like peanuts. Now, after the industrial development up the river, the oysters completely died out. There were no more oyster beds as of 20 years ago. However, since the giant, I think it was, I forget, GE cleanup that happened up there, I can't remember who did it, but amazingly the river has gotten clean enough not only for oysters to grow, but also for oysters to eat. Almost, in a few years, you'll be able to eat the oysters. And so we thought, well, why don't, as part of our contribution to our competition, make a set of, I guess I could call them bubbles, bubbles that kind of transform the mountain range into other objects that engage the river in various ways, and engage the ecology of the river in various ways. So we have one bubble that laps over the solid ground and goes into the water. There's a tunnel system that goes under the water. This is something that we carried over from Sidhaven. Yes, you've caught me again, but it's a little dive tank, and glass wall, so you can actually see the harbor water. It's pretty murky, but it's still sort of interesting. A little restaurant here that we call Hole in the Water, that's made like it's got a little buffer zone for waves, and then you come down here and you're at eye level with the water. And last but not least, the oyster reef. So the notion here was that this bubble would float on the water, and it would be anchored to the bottom of the river, of the harbor, with an oyster reef, and you would be able to eat. You basically be able to eat the building, which that's the name of the talk tonight, Tasty Landscapes. So there you have it. The wintertime scene. The bubble allows some vegetation to grow year-round. These are air inflated beams. This is a technology which does exist, and it's starting to be used with ETFE foil between, which is a very clear, very, very light and very durable, UV resistant skin material, plastic material. And here's the dive tank, and then the oyster bar there. And that's Governor's Island. That's going to come. Oh boy, there's this. Okay, and so we won this competition. We were competing against Zaha Hadid and Stephen Hall, and Julie Bargman and Michael van Valkenburg. We had great competitors, and there were great schemes. There had been so much rumination about the High Line for years. People had been trying to figure out what to do with this, and Stephen Hall, in fact, made this a big part of his career. New York-based architect, even as long ago as 30 years ago, maybe. I mean, maybe you guys could correct me, but I think did a pamphlet architecture where he suggested that the High Line would be the new ground for a series of housing projects, which would march through West Chelsea. None of that came to fruition. The line is 1.5 miles, and it goes through West Chelsea, as you probably know, up to the rail yards here, right through the middle of blocks. Joel Sternfeld, who, by the way, has a new kid, you'll probably send him here, which is very exciting to know, took these photographs as sort of propaganda to try to convince city administrators not to tear down the High Line, because it was really going to be taken down by the Giuliani administration. The kind of new urban movement that exists around America deplores things like this, and it's unfortunate. They thought this was an eyesore, that it disconnected one side of the city from the other. Well, there aren't cars going on it, there are no fumes being made on it. In fact, this is the bucolic landscape that has developed over the years. This had become one of the most indigenously planted parts of New York City in the years since it was disused, which was in the early 80s. Now, the other reason that some of the folks wanted this to be kept is because they have really fun memories of breaking in. I am one of those people who used to break in up there and have little parties in the late 80s. And one of our basic concepts for this line was to keep it commerce-free, actually. There are push carts up there now. There are no built-in stores. Another thing that we wanted to do was to make it a park that catered to the other side of New York, that parks don't necessarily cater to. So those are two little side points. We invented something called agritecture, and it's sort of a merger of agriculture or planting and architecture. And by the way, I should mention we did this with James Corner at Field Operations. He was actually the lead designer, and we co-designed this with him. But we worked on all of these concepts together. Agritecture would allow us to completely pave a section or to let a section be green, and it would let a smooth transition exist between the green and the paved area. And so it will allow us eventually, when the entire line is complete, to have all types of different planted sections, from complete 100% paved to 100% green. And in section 2 we have a part we call the flyover, the woodland flyover, from 25th to 26th Street. You'll go on a little ramp in the treetops, which is going to be very fun. So you have that to look forward to in a little over a year's time. These were our competition drawings. This is Gansevoort at the very end. This plays into the project we're going to be doing here, and I'll get into that in a second. This is some of the planting. We worked with a wonderful horticulturist, Piet Udolf from Holland, who very, very carefully selected all of the plantings to either be indigenous to the New York area or to thrive in this environment. The hope is that over the years, not much more than routine maintenance will be needed, that the plants will more or less live on their own, and we're very excited about that. We were interested in the special features of the High Line, such as the moment over 10th Avenue where it widened out. These guys, the original builders, were sort of being lazy and cheap and just decided to span the shortest distance, but it made a wonderful plaza hanging out over 10th Avenue. So we decided to detorn the plaza, to take it over, put a grandstand in, cut holes in the edge, in the end, and let you look down over 10th Avenue. And so you've probably seen it. These are the completed pictures. I won't dwell on them. We all know what's happening at the Standard now. You can see the Statue of Liberty, which is I didn't really realize that. And it's a magical place. I mean, and it's not simply because we worked on it. It's just a great, I mean, everybody's probably in this room has been there, but we're very pleased with how it's turned out. That's 10th Avenue Square. Here's the sort of overlook. There's a water feature which is being finished right now. Mind the mess that's there right now. There were some plumbing problems. The lighting is unbelievable. We worked with the Parks Department. We can't believe they let us do what we did using glass and materials that seem fragile. Glass is not actually terribly fragile, and it's certainly not when people have respect for it. And one of the things that this project has done, more than any project I've ever witnessed in New York City, is make people have respect for public space. It's been astounding, and also what it's done to speed is astounding. I feel like this is an unfurled piazza from some town in Italy, where people have finally learned how to make a passeggiata. They can slow down, take it easy, stroll. It's social, it's cruisy, exactly all those things that we had hoped, and it's fun. I don't think we need to see that. Okay, we did some fun things. We like fun, and okay, you've got about 10 more minutes, and okay, so these trees are moving, and this was an installation that we completed last year for Liverpool. Liverpool, people drink a lot in Liverpool, and we thought it would be fun to sort of play with that idea, and it's a park. They gave us an entire park, so we planted a grove of trees, and 3 of the trees are sitting on these turntables. So anyway, it's quite amusing. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. Uh-oh. Yeah. Oh, there's actually some sound here. So you got the idea. We had a lot of fun with this. I mean, imagine this, you're lying there and another one, what's happening? So, we had a lot of fun with this project. They were going to take the project out like they did Blur, but they decided they liked it so much they're going to keep it. And we made it child-proof and weather-proof, so it should last. We're going to go on, and this is our newest project. I'm going to quickly take you through this, and then we're going to talk about what we're doing here. We won this competition about a month ago, and now that Rio won a competition about 2 weeks ago, we're feeling really excited. I think that this might be the backdrop of beach what do you call it? Beach volleyball. Museum of Image and Sound, built on Burle Marx is a famous landscape architect, probably the most famous landscape architect from Brazil, who developed these stone patterns, paving patterns, tessera paving patterns, all over Copacabana Beach. Again, very related to a lot of our other work. We wanted to make this building completely public, and the building houses collections of 3 important Brazilian artists, as well as temporary gallery space. There's going to be a discotheque. If anybody's been to Rio, this is the site of Help, which people have crawled out of the woodwork to say they've spent some really tawdry nights on this site at Help. So I'm happy to report that we will replace Help with a new Help. We're also going to have a restaurant and a rooftop cinema. It's a really exciting project for us. It sort of plays into all of the things that we're interested in. It's a fantastic site, both on the waterfront and on a public way. And what we were really interested in doing was bringing this public way, folding it, and shearing it and bringing it into the building as a walking surface. That is one of the first sketch models of the building. It's about 7 stories high. I can't quite remember it. It's a little confusing. But so you can imagine beach volleyball right here and our new building right here. So the outside of the building is actually traversable without even buying a ticket. You can walk right here, go up here, all the way up here. It's kind of a climb, but you can end up at the restaurant and at the rooftop cinema. I'm not going to go through all of that. That's a section drawing showing the temporary gallery space. It flows just like the outside space, maybe you might say just like a samba. And then here's the restaurant. Here's what will become the disco. They said piano bar, but they meant disco in the brief. I don't know. We learned that after we went down there to present. And here's the auditorium. They'll present all kinds of different types of pieces there, and rooftop cinema up here. There it is. One of Brazil's most famous favelas is right here, only 2 blocks away, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if you heard, there was a police helicopter was shot out of the sky this weekend, and we had our crew down there working on this project. Anyway, it's a little bit of a scary place that will inevitably be made a lot safer with the Olympics. Here it is looking down Copacabana Beach. This is the first museum that's been built in Rio in a long time. We're really excited to have won this competition. It's going to be our next really big project. Rooftop cinema. We played with view very much like the ICA. It's a sort of different concept of view. Here, what we tried to do was sort of edit the view out according to how you move through the building. So here's the view compressed of all of Copacabana. That's Sugarloaf down there. And so here's the entire beach, and we thought, well, why don't we deliver portions of the view to you as you go through the gallery? So we split up the view, just like you see here. We edited out many parts of the view, and we were delivering the view through a perforated screen on the outside of the galleries, like this. When you're in the restaurant and the disco and the other spaces, you'll see perfectly well out. But when you're in the galleries, we wanted to make you conscious of the fact that you're in a contemplative space and not simply, as I used for the ICA, pornographic space. So here's the technique. This is going to be cast in a material called ductile, which is a very it's like concrete, but it's much stronger than concrete and much lighter than concrete. And you see how the angles change in the perforation angles change, so that when you're close by the screen, you can either see directly through, or your view is actually sort of blocked. And that's by virtue of the depth of the screen and the angle, the depth of, or the angles of the perforations. Carmen Miranda is one of the Brazilian artist. She's actually Portuguese, but Brazilian artist whose collection will be housed here. There is a Carmen Miranda museum. It will now be here. She was only 5'2", so all of her shoes have, you know, 6 to 8 inch rises. We worked with a lot of presentation techniques here, a kind of screen that disappears when the light comes on behind, revealing the actual costume worn in a particular movie. Getting that stuff on your iPhone here, interactive touchscreen technologies. This is Eduardo Malta, who's photographer, whose collection will be housed there. Other ways that material can be accessed. We thought maybe we'd make an interactive map of Rio, so as you pass through the different photographs, their locations can be found on the map. You can actually zoom in and find out where those things were taken. And then this is our weather cafe, or our maybe we should call it the security cafe, because these are all the security cams around Rio. So you'll know whether the helicopter has been shot down. And then here, just a little video that takes you on a little tour. I'm going to be quiet for a second, and then I'm going to go into description of the program here. That's the burly marks. Okay, I can't be quiet, sorry. Sheared, lifted, pulled, woven, making the spaces of the gallery, and making the walkway that comes up. That's the restaurant being formed. You can see right down into the auditorium from the sidewalk. Again, we wanted this to be an incredibly democratic building. As you can tell, I mean, the burly marks, like the Boston ICA pavement, it's a surface of the people. These are the galleries, so they flow one into the other. You can see into what had been the piano bar, which is now the disco, right from one of the galleries into the framed view. No need for a gym membership when you go to this building regularly. Disco. Distinct disco. Moving on up. Here's the restaurant. And then the rooftop cinema. So we're excited about that. Oh, this is sort of a coda, and then we'll finish. So tasty landscapes, landscape, nature, our environment, things we're all interested in. We don't work like other architects who proclaim themselves to be sort of sustainable architects. We think sustainability and awareness of the environment and of nature is just something we have to have. It's not something we do and say we're doing. So we were asked to participate in the Venice Biennale last fall, this 2008, and the Biennale is housed, the primary show is housed in a quarter-mile long building called the Arsenale. This is on the eastern end of Venice. There's a canal that fronts it right here. It's a 500-year-old building. All of these different bays were to be given out to different architects by Aaron Betsky, the show's chief curator. We chose the very middle bay, and it's because we wanted to do something very special. And we liked it because there was a window right from the middle bay, right over the canal. And what we wanted to do was to make espresso out of the canal water. So we contacted a water purification company. There are several in Venice, as you might imagine. There were 4, in fact, we learned. And we started working with them, and they came up with this system. It's a kind of pH process, reverse osmosis thingamajig, that we were going to house in the Arsenale in a very theatrical manner. Of course, we wanted to publicize the fact that this was the canal water, so a pipe leading directly to the canal, set of purification tanks showing a gradation of water from dirtiest to cleanest, and then the cleanest going right into the espresso machine. And okay, and so we got a permission to build this on the inside of the Arsenale, which is incredible. And they said, okay, yes, you can, fine, you just hang your thing on our 500-year-old columns, that's no problem. In fact, we did it, we suspended this on the 500-year-old columns. This is all suspended on cables, brick columns, nothing touching the ground. There's the espresso bar, here's the pipe. These are our working drawings. This was going into manufacture, and this was about 2 months before, just a little over a year ago, and that was actually how it was going to look in the end. A little less theatrical, but still quite compelling. By the way, there's a sludge remover that comes every day, at once a day, and they wheel the sludge out, which we thought would be a really fun thing, to take sludge through all the other exhibits of our friends and competitors, I guess. Anyway, so we didn't make it. I guess you could tell that was the upshot. We were told about just before we went into fabrication by the mayor of Venice, that if we fed anybody an espresso with canal water, we would all be thrown in jail. And we were panicked, so we stopped and we made a different project, video project, which was also quite well received, but nothing like this. And then I thought, geez, that might have been really fun. Don't they still take the prisoners over the Bridge of Sighs? That would be really, would have been really fun. Anyway, we chickened out and didn't. Okay, so on to the program here. And I think I've done pretty well. It's been just over an hour. What we're thinking to do, because we're sort of using this project here at Friends Seminary to intersect a lot of my personal interests, my firm's experience and interests, some of our connections to institutions around, Jesse's connections, and also a project which I can bring exposure to, which is the High Line. So this is a top-down view of the end of the High Line before it was complete. I think the next slide shows it better. Right here, this is a site that the Whitney Museum is planning to build their downtown campus on. And so what we're thinking to do with this site here in this studio, this is probably going to happen in the spring semester, is to make a hybrid museum. And one of the things that Jesse and Bo and I got excited about was democratizing the museum and greening the museum, and as you've seen from the talk tonight, we're very interested in museums being open to everyone and being able to share their wealth. And the thought right now is, and this is in gestation, and we will be sort of making it up as we go along, but the thought is that we will make a museum of private collections, which is open to the public. So collectors who have collections such as that are privately held, such as Leonard Lauder, who collects wonderful things from postcards to Klaus Oldenburg. I mean, just amazing things. The thought is, why should these collections remain under wraps? Why shouldn't they be available? And so the idea would be to make a hybrid sort of structure, which is anyway, well, you get to see all kinds of things, that is both museum and residence. So it's residential for the people that have these collections, and it's open to the public at times, and not. And so the kids will be assigned various parts of this project, and will culminate in an overall project of this nature on the Whitney site at the end of the High Line, using the High Line as sort of an impetus. We'll be taking the kids to the High Line, we'll be taking them to my studio, and generally exposing them to architecture in the city, and hopefully we'll meet some collectors and look at their work and actually build or plan for these collections. So that's about it for tonight. Thank you. You've been a very receptive audience.
And if you have any questions, we have a mic for questions, just to get this on the tape, if you don't mind.
Again to the school. How would you clean that building?
Yes. How would you clean it? I think they would employ the kids to clean it. Don't you think? Yeah, that would be extracurricular activity.
I have just a kind of a different conceptual question.
Yes.
These are very impressive. I really love the architecture that I've seen, and all public buildings. You talked about democracy, museums, the opening up the Juilliard, all of that, and I'm very much in favor of that. But there's nothing that you presented here about residential architecture. You know, there's so much being talked about. I heard an economist say that if we were able to bring down the amount of energy we wasted in homes, you know, we just, like, all of these goals we're trying to reach environmentally, we would really, the United States could really do something there. We could all make a difference if we had a different kind of house.
Right.
All had different kind of houses. Is your firm involved in that at all? In anything of those kind of projects on a much lower scale rather than that kind of really big public?
Yeah, we do residential. I chose to focus on public projects because that's what we're going to be doing well, we're going to be doing a little bit of residential in the class here, and also on projects that are interrogating, you know, landscape and issues of green and sustainability. But that's not our primary
Jesse
focus.
and Bo and I got excited about was
working in the cultural world. We have done housing and houses, both housing and houses, completed social housing in Japan. We've done designs for several single-family houses, which somehow every time we do somebody's house, some tragedy befalls the couple, not death, but, you know, breakup or, you know, financial ruin. And so as much as I'd like to encourage you, some of us, to call, it might be bad for your marriage. So, but we do enjoy exploring issues of domesticity. We do very much like the house, and we do, in fact, like to explore issues of sustainability, personal sustainability. And you may have seen about a year and a half ago we did a piece for the green issue of the New York Times Magazine. We developed a house ourselves, and you can see it on our website, dsrny.com. There we tried to talk about what it meant to be sustainable, not from LEED or points that you get. You may hear your architect friends talking about this, but really from a cultural standpoint. What is, you know, do we have to feel guilty about living the high life? Are there ways to actually live the high life and do it sustainably, do it very smartly? And the other thing I would say is probably the biggest thing we can do, because you used the word house a couple of times, is to not live in houses and to live in compact places that are densely built and don't have exterior walls. But that's a really huge jump for Americans to make, and we're not quite there yet. Any others?
You will be working with students here, a group of 20 or something, and once a week. And will you be trying to elicit design ideas, spark those ideas in these kids? And how do you do that?
Well, between Jesse and myself, we're going to be doing what all of the teachers here at Friends Seminary do with all of their students at all their classes, which is make kids inquisitive and excited to learn. Probably can't teach a person how to make architecture in a semester, but we can certainly expose them to all of the possible benefits of making a good environment. So it's not really our goal to make people make great buildings. It's our goal to make people think about their world through the things they can make for it. And I probably won't be here every week, but Jesse's here all the time, and he and I are already working together to develop techniques to talk about the program. And actually, I think there's some students here, and I wanted to give the first assignment tonight, so come up and see me afterwards. It's teaching architecture generally takes place in graduate school, and it does take place in undergraduate school as well. That's where I learned, and it's a totalizing sort of profession. It involves sociology, it involves art, it involves sciences. There's physics, there's math. I mean, I didn't really do much of that, but and you don't have to know how to do that as long as you have great engineers. One of whom has his children here. Anyway, it's a very complex but really rewarding discipline because it covers so much territory, and I think that the kids will get a lot out of it, even if we don't, make great building proposals.
I think we should probably bring this to closure, but Charles, we're thrilled you're here and thrilled that you're going to be giving our students so much over the course of the next year. Thank you all for being here, and have a great night.